Instagram chief Adam Mosseri will testify in a Senate subcommittee hearing on, quote, protecting kids online. Now, his appearance comes as Frances Haugen, the former Facebook project manager, offered yet another blistering assessment about the potential pitfalls of social media, especially for young girls on Instagram.
Facebook's internal research states that not only is Instagram dangerous for teenagers, it's actually substantially more dangerous than other social media platforms because TikTok is about performance and doing things with your friends. Snapchat is largely about augmented reality and faces, but Instagram is about bodies and social comparison.
Now, it seems clear social media has the potential to be a dangerous cliff for teens who are struggling emotionally, like 14-year-old Molly Russell. 4 years ago, she kissed her parents goodnight, logged on to Instagram, and ended up taking her own life. Ian Russell blames social media for his daughter's death. He established the Molly Rose Foundation Suicide Prevention Organization in his daughter's name. Ian joins me now, and Ian, it's been 4 years, but you can't imagine the depth of the pain that never goes away. There's so many things that contribute to a person choosing death by suicide. How big of a role do you believe Instagram, social media played in Molly's case?
Molly was an extraordinary daughter. And even though 4 years has passed, of course, I still think of her every day, and a tear comes to my eye quite often. There was no sign of any mental ill health in Molly before her death, and we couldn't work out what could have possibly triggered it. And then we looked into what she'd been looking at online and saw the harmful content that she'd been exposed to on various platforms, including Instagram. And it was almost as if a missing piece of a jigsaw was put in place because it was so horrifying and shocking. Seeing that content must have been very hard for Molly. And the platform's algorithms fed her more and more harmful content every day. And having had a glimpse of what Molly was exposed to, I think I now understand why she was pushed to do what she did.
It was reported that in the last 6 months of her life, Molly was using Instagram more than 120 times a day. You later learned she had viewed a lot of distressing materials you just mentioned about depression and suicide. You kind of alluded to this, but do you have any idea how much your daughter was using Instagram so much, and perhaps more importantly, how toxic it was?
I know from what I've seen that Molly saw and saved and liked. I have to limit how much of it I see, as do the legal team who are working with us on Molly's inquest, which is still open, and for that matter, the police officers who've been involved with the case as well. It's harmful, distressing material, sometimes quite graphically shocking, but sometimes quite subtly shocking, just with nihilistic, bleak, black and white messages. But if you are fed these messages by algorithms hundreds of times a day, will affect your mental health. And you have to protect yourself against it. You have to take an awful lot of care to make sure you don't spend too much time looking at that harmful content.
You know, one of the biggest questions I've had, and I've been aware of Molly and the work you've done in the wake of her death, is, you know, at the time, this was very high profile, particularly in the UK, and Instagram promised to make changes. The company released a statement saying Instagram does not allow content that promotes or glorifies self-harm or suicide and will remove content of this kind. That was 4 years ago. Are you aware of anything Instagram has done to make its site safer in your view?
Well, Adam Mosseri did come to the UK when Molly's story broke here. And made an announcement that the platform would change its community guidelines and remove content that included graphic self-harms. So there was a change, and that's positive, and all those changes have to be welcomed. But you have to say, why are they always making changes reactively? They should be proactive. They're a huge, well-funded company. They have the data. They have the research, as Frances Haugen's Facebook papers have shown. They have the research, they have the data, they have the resources. They should be ahead of the curve rather than reacting. And it's time that governments around the world and legislation that's already been introduced, like the age-appropriate design code here in the UK, and the calls from governments around the world for a safer online internet be heeded, because that's what our young people who go online so often deserve.
You know, one of the things that was interesting, you know, Instagram put a pause on their Instagram Kids a couple of months ago. Adam Mosseri put out a video just a couple of weeks ago, ahead of his congressional testimony, where he said he was proud of the investment Instagram has made in safety for young people on the platform over the last few years, but also adds, and I think this was part of the reason for the pause of Facebook Kids, that they're trying to empower parents, introducing new parental controls. What's your reaction to the idea that parental controls are maybe not the silver bullet here, but are a good solution or one solution in this process?
I think all such solutions should be looked into, but I think what's really important is that the world takes stock of where we are. Social media is new, it's a fantastic phenomenon, it can be used for so much good, but at the moment it's being spoiled because there's too much harmful content. So what we need to do is collectively look at the data that we have, and actually, to be honest, that data is held mainly by the tech platforms. That data needs to be made available in an anonymized form so that the data privacy isn't compromised. And then proper academic research needs to be done so that we better understand the connection between what young people see online and the effect that it does have on their mental health. Because very sadly, this isn't just a story about Molly, it's a story about thousands of young teenagers who are affected by the harmful content they can so easily find online. And we all need to take steps to do something about it.
Yeah, there's no question, but Molly's story does so much to help get the message out, or at least get recognition to a very serious issue. Ian Russell, I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story, sir.
Thank you, Phil.